This is NFTCulture. I'm Pio, and this morning I have the pleasure of speaking with Andrea, also known as CrownandPalette. How's it going, Andrea?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here and to share my story. So I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome, great to hear it. So you and I were talking a little bit off air. You are a multidisciplinary artist. Can you tell the audience a bit about how you approach your artwork, maybe about your creative beginnings, and how you got to where you are at now?
Absolutely. So when I say multidisciplinary, I actually am able to create art of different mediums. So far in the NFT world, most of only have seen half of what I can do. And that was for different reasons. But before I get into that, I'll get into a little bit about my background and how I even got here, how I even got into NFTs, because that certainly was not part of my plan whatsoever. So I started CrownandPalette last year in April, just a little bit after the pandemic was declared. I needed an outlet, but I've always been artistic. I've been artistic since I was a child. So drawing lessons when I was 5, then converted to painting with acrylics and oil. I even got accepted into the architecture program at one point, and unfortunately wasn't really my passion. But because of, the whole process of being in that program, I actually lost my passion for art for a good 10 years. So that is a very long time. And I thought, I may not ever go back to my art again, but part of me knew that eventually I would, just at the right time. I say everything works out in divine timing, and that's actually very tied to my name, which I'll explain now. The name CrownandPalette is actually inspired by, for those who are spiritual, who know about the chakra system, it's actually inspired by the crown chakra, which is the 7th chakra. We're at the very top of the head, which is what connects us to source and to divine. So I'm not religious. However, I do believe in a higher power. I do believe that there's something bigger than us. So I like to think that everything that happens to myself and to others, we all have a life purpose and a path. And whether the decisions that we make, they lead us to different paths. I'm also an astrology nerd. And a lot of my art is inspired by astrology and by moon cycles. I am a sun in Leo. So Leo energy is, the crown is very much a symbol that kind of goes around with Leo. So I knew I wanted to incorporate, my love for spirituality. I am very spiritual in nature. And I knew that that was going to be my niche. So I wanted to create a name for myself, for my art, where people can recognize me and it's easily identifiable, right? So everybody calls me Crown now, kind of thing. So it's kind of like a funny little thing that, oh, crown. So, so in terms of, with the multidisciplinary aspect of things, I get bored really fast of doing one medium. So that's Moon and Sagittarius energy right there, actually. But I am also an abstract painter. I have a separate Instagram account just for that, to keep things cohesive as much as possible from a brand perspective. It's a fluid abstract medium, and I hope to, in time, find a way to incorporate that as NFTs. But not sure how to go about that yet. Because up to this point, it's only been my collage work and also some of my illustration work. That's also something I do as well. I have an iPad and I use Procreate, and I create a lot of my illustrations on Procreate. And lately, actually, I've been combining collage and illustration work together. So you're going to see more and more of that from me. I actually just recently got accepted into Maker's Place, so I'm really going to think about what I'm going to be minting on there. So hopefully maybe something totally different than what.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I was pretty excited. I had to read it twice, be like, am I imagining things? Like, I waited a long time since March. So it was great. So
I mean, that's so awesome. And I'm sure, more platforms will follow. So just to kind of dig into, the nitty gritty a little bit on the different disciplines that, you're working within, you were telling me that, you'll do collaborations with photographers, and you actually even have a business arrangement in place for that, which I think is really cool. And I think the NFT space really lends itself to collaboration. So can you kind of go into detail on what one of those projects might look like how you collaborate with a photographer, what your role is, and some of the details there?
Sure, absolutely. So pretty well with all of the artworks I make, I don't really think that far ahead. if it's going to be an NFT. I kind of base whether I'm going to mint an NFT based on the reaction I get from my audience. I really do pay attention to my audience. And if I get a very strong reaction, especially on Twitter, because I know that's where, everything is for NFTs, the reaction I get on Instagram versus Twitter is very different. So I base a lot of my reaction from Twitter. And when I get a strong reaction, I'm like, okay, maybe I should think about minting this. But there's actually one photographer that I've worked with a lot over the last couple of posts I've made on Instagram. And I've talked to him in the past about, would you be open to having my collage piece, which has your photograph in it, to be an NFT? And at first he wasn't sure what that meant. So I explained it to him. I also have a resource on my Instagram as well, talking about what is an NFT, right? And so I had a good discussion with him, and he was very open to it. And I think the way that I approached it probably was a little bit more enticing. So I said, I would be the one to basically do the work. I will mint it on the Ethereum blockchain. So on Foundation or whatever, I will pay the gas fee to get it on there as well. And depending on when the sale happens, I will split it equally between myself and him. Or if there's a model in the picture as well that, we may feel might be equally distributed, then we'll do that. So I felt like it was like, we both get something out of this, right? Like, we're both getting exposure. We both may potentially get some profit out of it. And you know what I mean? So I think it was a really, it's a fun business partnership that we have started here. And I hope to do that with more photographers because I knew he wasn't in the NFT world. So I'm thinking this is really he's given me full access to his portfolio. Actually, he's like, here's my portfolio with all these photographs. Go and do whatever you want with them. I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
And was that before or after he saw the first sale go through?
This was no sales happened yet, actually, with some of the works with him. He saw my first collage piece, and I think it, based on his reaction, he was like, oh, here, go nuts. Even if it's not an NFT, I think he's very open-minded to letting me use it for my portfolio work, which is really, really nice. I'm not sure about other photographers, but I've been very lucky so far with the photographers that have been very open-minded to it. Even if it's not for NFTs, I give them advance notice. Hi, I found your image on here or here. I tell them exactly where I found them. I said, here's the art piece that I've created with your photograph. Would you mind if I post it on my Instagram? And I will tag you. I do the best I can to ensure that they're getting full credit for, they're at least 30% of the image. Right. So, and it's important to me when people credit me when they post my artwork on Instagram, for example, as well, too. Right. Like, we all want to relate back who the creator is. So I do my best with that. So I think that's why I've been successful so far with this photographer being totally open to just doing this. Right.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So it sounds like, you do. So yeah, have at it. Here's my whole portfolio. So that's really cool. I want to ask about one style that I see on your Instagram a little bit. So are these like Procreate drawings from you? So I think that these are really
they are. Yeah.
Awesome. And these are really cool. And there's a few more on the Instagram page. How often would you say that you kind of knock out art that's in this direction versus like the photo manipulation?
See, the way I go about creating art is I don't really think too hard about it. If I'm in the mood to make a line drawing, I just do it, right? But I do try to spread them out. So I always plan out my posts in advance if I can. Sometimes it's not easy to do that. But I'll say, oh, I have one line art here, and then I have a couple collages, so maybe I should make another one for the next week or so, kind of thing. I kind of plan things out a little bit like that, but I don't have an idea in mind all the time. Sometimes it's just very intuitive in the moment that, like, I want to draw a girl with a huge crown because the Leo season's coming up, right? So associating crown with Leo, right? So, but I usually do one of those line drawings probably once every 2 weeks. And I've been minting those actually on Hikanook because I wanted to, of course, mint there because a lot of people are now. And I know it's not always affordable for a lot of people to purchase an NFT on the Ethereum blockchain. So some of these works I've done in the past, and I'm like, this is easy for me to just, here you go and collect this for 1 or 2 Tezos. And they don't take me very long to make as well. So it's just like, I'll finish my work day, I'll do my thing, and it's 10 o'clock at night. I'll maybe just dish out one of these in 1 to 2 hours kind of thing. So, because with social media, I know we always have to keep up with content production and always having so much all the time that sometimes I don't have the time to make a collage piece, for example. So sometimes I may have to resort to maybe making a line art drawing, right? Catering to different audiences as well. With some of my line work, I get more attention than my collages. So it's just, I think by broadening by different areas of, some of my artwork, I think it's catering to different audiences. So it's been an interesting year of growth. I just reached 5,000 on Instagram a couple of days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And ever since I separated my mediums, that's made a huge difference as well. Because at one point in time, everything was kind of compiled into one place on Instagram. And I knew from a marketing and from a brand standpoint, I had to separate them. So I did that in March when I got into the NFT scene, so that it was more cohesive. So for those who are looking at my account, they can see that this is my niche. This is what I can create. But I also do have my other account in the bio of this account. So if people do want to see my other work, it's easy. They just go from my bio.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of artists, were big on Instagram or focused on Instagram. Now that they're in the NFT space, like you kind of alluded to, that really lives on Twitter. So Twitter's quickly emerging as a space for artists. I want to talk about, Discord and just NFT community in general, because you are part of the NFT goddess community. I think you were referred to us by Ana Isabel, who we also, did an interview with here. Awesome artist in Portugal. Awesome person too. So what has belonging to NFT goddesses and just being part of the NFT community meant for you so far?
I think is the biggest motivator I have for being in the NFT scene. I was introduced to the NFT scene from a good girlfriend of mine. Her name is Kirsten, Midnight Move Visual. She's one of the most talented people I know. And ever since she introduced me to NFTs, she's always known that I'm big on community. It is my motivator, even with Instagram as well. I create art to help heal myself and for others and try and give back as much as I can. So when she told me that the community is like no other for NFTs, I'm like, there can't be, no way. And it's opened a whole new world of what community means to me and to others. And I was asked to be a part of NFT Goddesses really fast. I was asked, I think back in March, April, which is around the time I did start NFTs. So I felt very welcomed in the community very quickly, and connecting with so many female artists at that point too. And they said, hey, do you want to join the NFT Goddesses group? I'm like, of course I do. That's wonderful that, that's a space for women to be able to connect. And it's been wonderful. So Discord is always so warming and just so they're always sharing our wins. Doesn't matter, whether you sold a piece, whatever, you always know you have a safe space to speak about matters that may be uncomfortable, but also to share your wins, and everyone's just cheering you on. It's just a beautiful thing. I also have another Discord group. That was my first Discord group I ever joined. It's just a couple of us. There's about 200 of us. And you probably will recognize some of them as well. But that's kind of where I started, was with that group. Then they introduced me to others. And I'm now also I'm also with Chester. Chester is another community here on Twitter. And everything they do is based on the community. They're trying to give back to the community as much as possible. So now I'm a moderator and a community leader for them as of 3 weeks ago. And I meet with them weekly to talk about, what feedback we get from the community. How can we improve? How can we tailor everything we do to make the community happy? So I've made 6 sales so far. I've made 6 NFT sales since March, which has been fantastic. However, I've been getting more satisfaction and happiness from helping the community, with working with Chester, and by, helping the community in a different way has been very, very heartwarming and a really wonderful experience. Community is what drives me every day. Getting a sale is great, but knowing that maybe my tweet or maybe sharing someone's work might actually get them a bid. It might change their life. And I've also collected NFTs as well. I've collected a few. And some of the stories I've heard from those who I have collected from have told me, what they've used their sales from, and it's actually helped and changed their life. So I think that alone right there is like, this is where I feel like this is where I belong. Like this community is everything to me.
Yeah. And I mean, you're not the first artist to say that. And I think that, digitally native artists, especially, right? They've just been living on Instagram and living on different platforms forever and, getting positive feedback on their work, but not maybe having like a roadmap on how to make it a full-time job, for example, right? Or just to make sales the way that a traditional artist would. And obviously there is satisfaction in that. With that comes the community of NFTs like Discord and Twitter and everything that you just talked about. So I think that combination really makes artists feel at home, and especially digital artists that were already working for a while and have now found this space that is just perfectly built for them. So that's really great for me to hear about. I want to talk about the themes of your artwork a little bit. So obviously like astrology and some of the things that you were talking about before come into play, but I did notice that there is nudity in some of your artworks, and I was wondering, how has that been perceived in the NFT community specifically? Have you made sales that had nudity? Have you gotten feedback? Could you kind of talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. My second NFT has a woman. It's from Provoking Shadows. That one sold within 3 days of being on OpenSea. And I think the nudity that I have chosen, I think the only one so far has a little bit more nudity than normal that I usually go for. But I don't think too much about that. I think the way that what I'm trying to make happen in each of my artworks is to invoke some sort of emotion. That is one of my biggest things with creating my work, is how will it make others feel? But ultimately, what's the message behind it? Not necessarily looking too far into the fact that, she might be nude or she might be showing a little bit more. I don't really think about that. So with Provoking Shadows, that one is probably one of my most powerful pieces I've ever made. I still have people to this day actually saying, I still look at that piece and I can't get it out of my head. Like I still see it, and it's meant to be thought provoking, right? So not many people, I don't think one person has really mentioned that, there's a naked woman there. No one has. I don't think that's the main focus behind that piece. I think it's more about the emotion that is being invoked. And it's different for every single person, depending on what you're going through in your own journey. So I think I'm thinking of the nudity itself is not the forefront, but it really does help with sending the proper message, or at least invoking the emotion that I want, right? So it doesn't bother me whatsoever to add nudity. And no one's really mentioned anything, to be honest. Like, I've never had someone say, why are you adding nudity or anything like that? Like, hasn't really been an issue. And I'm being more bold with using more of that with my pieces. If it conveys the message, then I did my job.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear, because anytime I think that you're getting into these internet communities of any sort, not specifically NFTs, just any sort of internet community, because there's a decent percentage of people that, operate with only avatars and are completely anonymous, but are still major contributors to the community. Sometimes you can run into opinions and people, expressing themselves against a certain topic. And I just thought of that as like a potential area that, not me, but somebody could have a problem with.
Of course.
So that's really good to hear that, that you had just like a normal, not positive, not negative, just like a normal response to it. And that you're going to, continue with it because that's part of your work. So that's awesome. What can you tell us about like work that's upcoming for you? Any sort of collaborations you have going on? What kind of projects are coming, next for Andrea?
Sure. So I'm finally a little bit more available, I feel, the next little bit to actually do collaborations, because I take collaborations very seriously. I don't half-ass collaborations. I want to make sure they're done right. I've been asked by quite a few people, actually, over the course of the last few months. But the way I do collaborations may be a little bit different for some. I don't like having a strict deadline, first of all, when it comes to collaborations, because I do feel that like it just constricts it. And I think if it's meant to finally be released, that it will be when it's supposed to. When someone asks me to do a collaboration, for example, the way I go about it is, I like to get to know the person. I like to first of all explore their style, whether I feel that it might be a good match, whether we can intertwine our styles, even if they're a little bit different. Is it still, are we able to work with this? Are we able to find a way to meet in the middle? That's one of the first things I look at. I also, like I said, having a personal connection with someone that I'm collaborating with, I find first of all makes it easier for me, but I also think it be a much more beautiful experience this way too. So collaboration. So when I'm doing one right now with the girl I mentioned earlier who got me into NFTs, her name is Kirsten. She's one of the most talented people I know. Her and I both do collage with astrology and the divine feminine. So a very similar niche. So it's very easy for us to work together. But what we're going to do is actually, we've done collaborations in the past, and we're going to do something similar. We're actually going to be opening, I'll give a little teaser for everybody because we haven't even said anything about it yet. We're opening our audience actually to submit modeling pictures. So if they want to be a part of our collaboration, this is an opportunity for them. So we're kind of engaging the community this way. And I think it'd be really fun to do that. So we're going to be mixing some collage and some illustration work. If you actually, on my Instagram, I know it's probably really far down, but the last collaboration we did was a mixture of collage and illustration, and it was very different. You don't see that very often. And it was one of our top posts. I think it still is one of my top posts on my Instagram to this day. It's really about the divine feminine. And we both like to invoke emotion. We like to create a space for healing. So working with her is very easy. I also have another one with Andrea. We have yet to brainstorm at this point, but we've been talking about doing a collaboration for the last couple of weeks. We really connected on a spiritual level as well. We've actually learned about each other in a way that we've actually been through some very similar circumstances when we were young in our past. So we were able to connect in that way. And we've talked about this. She's like, we should do something based on that, how we connected and how we can create a space for both of us to heal together. It's such a beautiful thing. So that's going to come up soon too. And I have I just have like a lineup of people. I'm like, I want to collaborate with this person, this person, this person. But again, it's just, I want to make sure that I have the energy and time to provide to these collaborations, because we deserve that. We deserve to see it through, whether that takes a month or 2 months. That's okay with me. I don't like doing something like in a week. It's just not, it's not how I roll.
Awesome. I'm sure people appreciate the planning that goes into that. And that's great that you've had that much engagement from people that you'd like to collaborate with. I also love the fact that you're kind of open sourcing like the subject of the artwork, or at least part of the subject of the artwork, to people to be able to submit their own modeling pictures. I think a big part of NFTs is doing that. Like you see a lot of different artists, ask for community submissions for different things, and they can be manipulated. And this is like a big part of, again, the NFT kind of structure, where it really welcomes and really promotes and encourages collaboration, including between artists and collectors, not just artists and other artists, but artists and collectors as well. And when you see projects being developed on Discord, even if it's just like, what do you think of this idea? And then, kind of open sourcing that to get feedback, that's what leads to like the best ideas being created, in my opinion. So that's really awesome that you guys are doing that. So I guess, where can people find you? I know you're on Twitter. You just got accepted to Maker's Place. Congratulations again. Where else can people find you?
Well, I am on Instagram. So on my Twitter bio, actually, I have pretty well everything. My foundation to Hikanuke, OpenSea, my Twitter. I also have TikTok. I am all over the place, but really my handle is the exact same everywhere. I'm very lucky that it's the same.
No underscores. No dashes, just Crown and Palette everywhere.
Just Crown and Palette, lowercase. If you search that, you're going to find me everywhere. Very, very happy about that.
Nice. Well, we got some good search terms over here for Andrea. Everyone's SEO is optimized for Crown and Palette. So you don't say you couldn't find her.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing up the conversation about collaborations, just because that has, been something I wanted to do more and more of. And I believe that the NFT space has really opened that up for so many. And working for Chester too, actually, a lot of the initiatives and programs that we have been working on has been encouraging collaboration. Our latest content bounty was, you can submit by yourself, but we're heavily encouraging collaboration, because what we were looking for was animated work, animation with some music. So we were encouraging others where if you're not good with 3D, or you're not comfortable with animation, this is a good time to collaborate with those that are, so that, you know what I mean? So that's something that I've also been, been promoting as well on my page, on my Twitter as well. So it's not only just my work, but I'm also now in the middle of promoting with Chester as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, thanks so much for joining us. Everyone, you can find Andrea, Crown and Palette, all different platforms. Look out for what she drops on Maker's Place. That's upcoming. Get involved with NFT Goddesses. You can be a part of Andrea's one of these upcoming projects by submitting your own modeling pictures, potentially for that piece. And Andrea, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. This was wonderful. Thank you.